get ready to write a letter. Got nothing to write on board ship.
So that was on board ship in World War II?
World War II, yeah. And you could see where the pencil had pushed.
Indentations of the pencil?
Mm-hmm.
And that's scruffy?
Yeah, and that's just.
What, 1927?
Mm-hmm. I chased the serial number down on it.
So is that a certain model?
It's an 015, I think. Pretty sure that's what it's called.
Why don't you just play something if you can't sing?
No.
Just try something. It sounds beautiful.
You used to get a kick out of people. They're going to play someplace and they'll tune up for an hour. I can take a guitar that's got a new set of strings on it, or old set of strings on it, just like this.
Because you play by ear. Because you play by ear.
Yeah.
If Aunt Gracie was here, what would you sing to her?
Huh?
If Aunt Gracie was here, what would you sing to her?
Honey, want me to play you a little something? Boy, she was a fine girl. More fun than a barrel of monkeys. Always laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I mean, you can't say her name without smiling. You can't
She
say
was
Debbie's name without smiling.
she never, she was one of my very favorite ever people. Never saw her in a bad mood.
You can imagine what kind of mother she was.
Oh, raised a dozen of them.
It's amazing.
And in a 4-room house. 4 rooms. Little square, about the size of this right here.
The boys had a room and the girls had a room.
Yeah, they just put a bunch of them in one room. Oh, honey, she said, I said, how in the world did you ever take care of all these kids?
Did they have to sleep across the bed instead of this way?
Down on the floor. And she said, oh, it wasn't all that bad. Said the big ones would take care of the little ones. Guys used to just beg me at the fire department to play at night and sing a song or two, and you get a big kick out of that. I had an old Gibson guitar. Bought it for like $20. Good guitar. was true, and it was kind of a yellowish color.
Did you give that one away or sell it?
Sold it, traded it. Went out here at the fairgrounds and traded it. I don't know, traded for something.
The Ovation and something else?
The Ovation is a round-backed guitar.
Is that the one Mark got?
I don't remember. I just know it's time to do something with them. And I don't care if they were put into the trust and
Well, you don't put items in the trust. You sell things and put the money into the trust account.
yeah.
Well, keep playing something. Do something. Entertain me.
You play the piano?
I used to. I was like 8 or 9 years old when our teacher got sick or something. Then we didn't go back and take lessons. Can you play You Are My Sunshine?
Yeah.
Or look down that lonesome road?
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take Please don't take my sunshine away. Oh, that's disappointing when you can't.
Well, I think your voice is still there.
It's,
You can't follow the note, but the voice is still there.
Oh, the voice is still there, yeah, but it's so rough and.
Too bad you can't play Thank God I'm a Country Boy.
Yeah.
Well, you played, what, Polly? What was the name of that song?
Pretty Polly.
Pretty Polly. You think that's why you named Polly Polly?
No, named Polly because my great-grandmother, Aunt Gracie's mom's name was Polly.
Ah.
My dad's name was Polly. Or my dad's mother was named Polly.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, can you sing Pretty Polly or not?
No.
Or play it?
bluegrass shows, and they always play a Martin, the lead guitar, and there'll be a young fellow,
Didn't Willie Nelson play a Martin?
yeah, about like this. He played it so much, they dug,
Yeah, there were holes in it from his
dug
fingernails.
holes with his fingernails. He's clear quit playing now. He was a heck of a writer. I forget how many hundred songs he's written, some pretty well known. He made a good living writing music.
Did he sing all of the songs that he wrote,
Yeah.
or did he sell them to somebody else
Well,
to sing?
no, he would go to oh, I'm thinking of somebody in country music like Hank Snow. Hank Snow and Willie Nelson were good friends. Willie Nelson was a young man, unknown, and but he liked certain entertainers' renditions of music, and he'd go to them with a sheet of paper with music written on it, and words, and they'd say, "I got a song here I think you'd like," and the person in question would play the song, and if they liked it, I said, "What do you want for it?" So I'll take $500 for it. He made a living writing music, and I think he wrote San Francisco. I left my heart in San Francisco. But anyway, and then he'd just go out on the road and say, "Here comes Willie. What do you got?" But Hank Williams was a tremendous writer. He was probably one of the more talented writers of music ever. He I hear those rats up there scraping.
Do you think Mark or Evan will take up the guitar?
No, Mark is a pretty good little blues guitar player.
You think you and Mark could ever play together?
A little bit.
Well, that would be fun to listen to.
I've
You know, he could sing, and the two of you could play.
he's sit down. He'll go down in his man room there and plays guitar.
You know, after you have that procedure done, maybe you can.
Well, they have corrected voices. I'd rather be able to sing a little bit. I always prided myself in being able to sing. We had a musical group in high school called the Madrigals, and they were a cappella. And one of the ways they would check it, I had what was called perfect pitch.
That's because you play by ear.
Well, I'm talking about, it said sing me a C. You go over and hit C on the piano, and it's right there. And you either have it or you don't. And anyway,
Were there all the other people in acapella? Were they in your class? Were they upper class, lower class?
Upper class generally, juniors and seniors. Although I was in I sang a cappella, sang a quartet. That's hard to do because you've got to not only hear it, but then you got to place blending sounds, and it's just something you either have or you don't, and you can't learn it. So being able to play the guitar, I thump around on it like I always have, but being able to play the guitar well or to sing well, I'd rather sing, be able to sing. So I enjoy going to church and listening to the music and singing the songs. And I don't know if you can see anything in my throat.
It's on your thyroid. It's further down.
Yeah.
Down here.
Yeah.
When Mom had thyroid surgery, it's down here.
Yeah.
It's like a figure 8 or a butterfly. It's like a butterfly right here.
I sure wish that girl was still here. I'd like for her to know Aunt Gracie. She would appreciate her.
Aunt Gracie, Mom,
Your
and Mary
grandpa?
Todd Bean.
Mary Todd Beam's still got a pretty good voice. She's way up there, but she can carry a tune and remember the words and so on.
Remember the song she was trying to remember?
I can't remember the words.
Something about the moon over the mountain, or
It's just an old song that didn't even know who wrote it. I guess I'm selfish. I know the quality of these instruments, and I hate to just give them away because I don't play anymore. I don't have a venue to play. I used to, I'd go into Keys, and Dave Dirth was a good friend, good musician. And we used to go in where Wares is now, facing Wares Funeral Home. On the left side, there used to be a brick 2-story building there, the YMCA, white. It was a white brick. And I can remember Dave Dirth going in there and playing the boogie woogie piano.
Mom really liked that.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the songs that came out during the 40s when the guys went off to war.
Yeah.
And that's when the music and the
was,
movies.
That was a time. That was a time when that music was popular. A little tart.
Dry. That's not Schoolhouse Red.
Schoolhouse Red was sweet, honey. That's what you get. That's what you get with a small winery like that. They don't control. They don't control.
But this wine's probably 10 years old that I opened up today. But it was stored in the basement, so it still should have been good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay if you like a dry wine, but it's not sweet.
But don't order it for a sweet wine because it isn't.
I'm trying to remember. Moscato is sweet. I can't remember the name. I know it started with an M.
By the way, I didn't say anything to him about the color of that roof. You paint that roof whatever color you want.
I told him silver. I told Joe silver.
Nearly all of them were, but it's authentic.
He said he starts to scrape and he thinks it's going to be a long time. He said then it comes off in a big piece. I said, you mean like
A scab or
not a boomerang, but it's a big piece. It comes off in a big piece. Flying saucer.
yeah, like a flying saucer.
But I don't see it on the pavement, so.
Now he's picked up a lot of it. He's put drop cloths down and gathered it up. There's little pieces of it that have fallen off. That'll be a great improvement to this house. Real fond of this house. It's got a good feel to it.
And Corda enjoyed living here.
She didn't. Oh yeah, she did live here.
This is her bedroom.
Well, yeah, when Peggy and I first got it.
And that is her living room was in there.
Yeah. But it's just these old houses got character.
Yeah, I like the wide baseboards. And the transients. And the tall ceilings. I'm glad we took the drop ceiling out.
Yeah, me too. They all did the same thing, trying to modernize them.
And they were perfect the way they were.
They were just right the way they were.
So what advice would you give Aunt Gracie if she were living today?
Who?
Aunt Gracie. If she were living today, what would you say to her?
Does anybody want to go shopping? Have you heard her? She'd say, give me about 5 minutes, I'll change some clothes. She loved to go to the shopping center.
Or she was always asking you, have you had anything to eat?
Yeah, that was her famous, and Ma was the same way. That's what, as they would say, that's what the women folks did. They prided themselves in taking care of a house and raising a family.
And being social when people came to visit.
Yeah,
and today, world, people ask, would you like something to drink? But they don't invite you to eat something.
Now, when I was a kid, we'd go up to West Virginia and go to, there was a park there, Cabway-Lingo Park, a big park. And we always had the Perry Maynard reunion in that park. And there'd be maybe 2,000 people. That's no exaggeration. We'd fill that park up and we'd have all day singing and dinner on the ground. Everybody brought in the trunk of their car, they'd have dishes made up, and about noon you'd go up there, leave here at 8 o'clock or so, get up there about noon, and then take a break and open up the cars and they had a few tables, and then folding chairs were just coming out good then. And you'd sit around on the grounds and eat and try everybody's food. My grandma Fry made absolutely the best green beans. Of course, she flavored them with pork and so on. They had a lot of flavor to them.
And they were probably fresh picked too, not out of a can.
Yeah.
And probably a ham hock, an onion, and
No, they most generally used bacon. See, we didn't have refrigeration when I was a little fellow. We didn't have refrigeration until 1946. You'd have a block of ice and an old ice box.
Yeah, the ice box. Yeah.
But you couldn't keep stuff real cold.
So what did they do for milk?
You'd take about a 25-pound block of ice and set a couple of half gallons of milk right next to it, and that would keep it cool. I spent all day one day after I went on the fire department. What did you call milk when it started to turn? And the old people back in the hills said that milk is blanky. Blankey. It's turned blanky. And
so was that like being buttermilk?
And you could, we never threw anything away. We'd make buttermilk out of it, or butter, because it was just pure, right from the cow milk. And Ma had these big, they were 1 pound restaurant soup bowls, and you could put 1 pound of butter in there. I can remember churning. That was my job as a little fellow, something I could do. And we had fresh butter and biscuits, cornbread every day. And I felt absolutely lost when we moved up here in 46. Mommy could make, actually Dad made better cornbread than Mom did. And we'd always go hunting, and it'd be fall of the year, cool, and take a shirt pocket or a coat pocket, just a lightweight coat, knock the chill off, and I'd carry a couple of pieces of cornbread or a couple of biscuits. We'd stop going through the woods and pick pawpaws. When they'd get real good and ripe, they taste like a banana. I'd eat pawpaws. We'd cut a bee tree. You'd watch them work. You could see them way off. You could see them going to a bee tree. Generally, it would be a big beech tree. We'd cut that down. I remember we cut one close to the house. It had been working in a clover field. And they had honey clover. If peaches were in bloom, or berries.
But you can buy clover honey, but you don't buy peach honey.
Yeah. Anything.
That would be special.
Yeah.
If it was just peach butter or peach honey.
Yeah.
Or dandelion honey, or peach honey would be delicious.
Oh,
I can't imagine how good that would be.
it's just sweet as honey. It was absolutely just a wonderful time when you were a little fella. Outdoor toilets. We'd go to the reunion, and of course they had outdoor toilets there. They still got a few of them, but and they generally put toilets, and they'd put fresh lime in them to take any odor down. And then recorders came out, little tape recorders. We'd stick a tape recorder when the pretty girls would go in the toilets and say, "Excuse me, ma'am, would you please move over to the other hole there? I'm trying to paint down here." And they'd come screaming out there. Every time anybody would stop for any period of time at all, you would stop and play some music and fix something to eat. Ma, Aunt Gracie, Aunt Thelma, not Thelma, her name, Uncle Owen's wife, Owen, and Stella. Her name was Stella. That was a popular name back in the 20s. And they always shortened it up to Stelly. Call her Stelly. I remember I rode up to West Virginia and stayed a few days with Uncle Owen and Aunt Stelly. And I was having a little trouble. My belly was hurting. And the toilet was around the hill, away from the house. And I had never taken a laxative in my life. And she said, "Well, if your belly's hurting pretty good, I'll give you a couple of these." And that's all I did one day, was on the pot.
You probably only need one or half of one.
Yeah.
What's your favorite memory from childhood?
Listen to the old folks talking about the war. See, I grew up in the Second World War, and everything that was going on was
Current events.
Yep. And I've got to pride my dad, Vester, Carl. Uncle Owen was a voracious reader. He read everything he could get his hands on. And you did not ask any of them, Uncle Hobart, or Uncle Carl, or Dad, or they always were up on current events. What country invaded what country? Who got a new prime minister? How many people were killed in the Battle of the Bulge? They took great pride in current events. You couldn't fool them.
I bet your Uncle Carl was right on top.
Yeah. Yeah, Uncle Carl was, he was just one of that era.
So, listening to the stories of World War II were your best memories of childhood, current events, listening to the old people talk.
Yeah.
So, what would be your favorite thing currently?
I think probably still, because I was raised to pay attention. People couldn't understand me as a little kid being interested in the news. I want to know what's going on, and you wouldn't hear Dylan, or you wouldn't hear boyfriend talking about current events. Bore them to death. But they're missing so much.
Yeah. Well, even teenagers or anyone in their 20s or 30s today probably couldn't tell you a lot of what's going on.
No. But we'd go on the farm. If we were picking corn, everybody in the country was picking corn, because it was, it was corn picking time. And so we had that old steel wheel farm-all tractor and a couple of wagons, and we'd go down through the field. And they're grown then, and some smaller, teenagers and so on, would be making hay, milking cows. Probably the most pleasant time was living on the farm.
Because you felt free.
Yeah.
Fresh air, freedom to run.
I had the total run of 253 acres. I could leave in the morning, take my dog with me in my slingshot, and a piece of cornbread or a biscuit or something, put some honey on it, wrap it up in newspaper and stick it in my pocket. So I get real hungry, got something to eat. Like I said, pawpaw trees and berries.
Nuts.
I'd crack hickory nuts and walnuts in the fall of the year when they were falling. Mom would say, "Son, go out there and get me take that little bucket with you and get some hickory nuts or walnuts, bring them in. We'll put it in a cake." And she didn't make a particular kind of cake. She'd just throw it all together, and it was wonderful.
Then what would you like to be remembered by? Your time as a fireman, your time as a realtor, your time as a father.
I'll have to say I've had an interesting life. I've done a lot of things. I've gone places and done things that other people didn't have the opportunity to. Like in North Africa, it was a whole different world. I went there for 364 days, isolated out on a little, just the desert, just sand dunes and rocks and spiders and scorpions and snakes. But it made me appreciate home. I think I would have given a $50 bill for a glass of buttermilk. You couldn't get buttermilk in North Africa. You couldn't get fresh milk. You could go into the mess hall. They did the very best they could do. They'd bring stuff off board ship, and they'd fix it. I know on holidays, Christmas and Thanksgiving, they'd have ham and turkey and mashed potatoes and gravy, and make up a big meal. You have to give them a lot of credit because they didn't have anything to work with. You had 2 or 3 highlights during that time that we were there. I regret so much not taking advantage. I was on a SAC base, and I got to know a couple of colonels, a couple of captains. They said, what's your work schedule? And I said, well, we work 3 days on and 24 off. Work 3 mids and 24 off. We work 3 midnights and then 3 days off. Well, during that 3 days off, they said, give us your schedule and you're welcome to bail on one of these B-47 bombers. They're running what they call sorties all over. And I never went to Europe. I could have gone to, they say, hey, we're flying into Spain and we're going to be there 2 or 3 days. You're welcome to go along if you want. You just throw some stuff in your duffel bag and go to chow hall and eat when you got there. And you had higher ranking officers flying those planes.
Do you regret not taking advantage of that?
Yes, sure do.
So if you're young and unmarried,
Yep.
Take advantage of any travel experiences that you can.
I could have gone to like Germany, and it was 10 years after the war, after the big war, and there was still a lot of damage there. You could see firsthand what happened.
And the Holocaust.
Yeah. But I feel fortunate that the people in my family were interested in history. I think it's absolutely shameful what they're doing to honor the veterans of the Civil War. Doesn't matter if you were for the North or for the South. They were all Americans, and after the fact, they agreed to that. Yes, let's go back where we were because we're all Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And but the damage they've done, the blacks have really reparations such as that. The war's over with. It was won fair and square. The loss of 465,000 people.
And we've lost more than that to the COVID-19.
Yeah.